I understood that knowledge is something that you need to have, and it was definitely something that was harped on in our household. But I also always had a fascination with money. Like, I understood it, like, seriously, like, I was like, "Man, like, people talk about this thing, it takes you pretty far. I like to have it, but to have something and not understand it makes no sense to me." So, it was something that I wanted to understand, and, I was, able to be in an environment that allowed me to understand it, and I think it kinda goes back to how I was raised and the sacrifices that my parents made early on to allow me to, um had the opportunities to talk about money. It's a different understanding of it. I think people have a different relationship with it, and it kind of goes back to that. So, quick story, or maybe not quick, but story from my parents. My parents grew up in the South, and they saw a lot of things. We didn't really come from money, and so my parents moved to Chicago, and, they sacrificed a lot. They were trying to figure out what to do, and they worked jobs and cash registers and did it whatever they need to do to get by, just like everyone did. And they got married, and I know my mom was like, we don't want to live in Chicago. If we're gonna raise a family, I want them to be in a good school system and have the opportunities that we didn't have. And so I want them to live in the closest suburbs to where my aunt was living, was Lincolnwood. So they ended up buying a house in Lincolnwood. And they were like, it's the best school system here and all that, all the good stuff. And, my parents bought the house. They got the deed to the house. They're super excited. Things are great. As they're walking to the new house, like I said, they were super excited. Cops show up. The cop runs up, handcuffs my dad, puts him down to the ground, like, you're under arrest, breaking and entering. My mom's like, no, no, hey, it's a big, chaos, right? Like, no, this is our house. We just bought it. And my mom has to show the deed. Like, no, like, this is our house. And the cop's like, oh, well, like, welcome to the city. Like, it was like, oh,
Sick.
you guys are the
Yeah.
first,
What the heck?
like, Black people in Lincolnwood. Like, welcome, right? Like, so all the sacrifices
Ugh,
my parents made, understanding like they
yeah.
did this so we could have an opportunity to have better education. And that led to us being in a really good school system that allowed us to talk about wealth and
Hmm.
to have a school where we had a whole series of talking about finance. So I remember in second
Wow.
grade, yeah, so that led to like my dad getting basically like arrested, before they even had kids, like all this stuff
That's
was going
so
on. And they're
crazy.
like, hey, like this is what we're gonna deal with to make sure our kids are in a great environment, which led to us in second grade having this like segment where our teacher set up a whole like economy system. And was like, if you do good at this and this, here's money. So every Friday you could go buy a new eraser. Cause like at the time,
Yeah.
having those cap erasers was like the cool thing to
Yeah.
have, right? So like having the cool erasers. So now I understand like if I finish my homework, early, if I get extra credit, I get $1 at the time, like a little paper with a sticker on it, whatever was $1, I can do this. So now I'm understanding this. And maybe I wouldn't get that understanding at another school. I'm learning this at second grade, right? Which led to us in sixth and seventh grade having a whole year of economy town, right? Of us learning how to write checks. And they had this whole system of like, okay, guys, like the whole year, you guys are gonna be working, and we had to fill out job applications, and we had to like go through the whole process. And sometimes you got denied. And if you didn't pay your rent, which was your school desk, you had to stand up in class. Like, it's like, well, that happens in real life. If you don't pay your mortgage, the bank comes and takes your house away. So like all these things led to that. And so early on, like, I don't know what school does that. Like, I don't know if your school did that. Like,
Yeah.
I,
No,
I don't
I
know.
honestly like thinking of a thing where every kid got gold stars, right, for being good, and like you learn all the things in grade school like that, for like your good deeds, but like to actually see it in real life and progress in real life, like we were never, paid in like some kind of currency and doing this to like get something, right? It was just like, oh, you did good, here's a gold star, or here's a sticker or whatever. But like I never heard of a like a elementary school, like starting at such an early age, teaching you not only the value of $1, but like how to save your money, what it's worth, like how to buy things. So is that what really got kind of caught your interest of like, hey, like if I do this enough and when I'm older, then something really big can happen. Is that like what you were thinking as a kid?
Oh, for sure. I mean, to be exposed to that, you understand like the value of something, like what it really means when your parents like, no, like we can't afford this because this is what it costs for this. Like, you know how expensive milk is, and like you're like, oh, actually, I
Yeah.
do, right? Like you understand that, right? And so I think understanding that allowed me to see like, okay, well, if I want something, how do I get it? Like, how do I afford this? And so I started thinking, in a business aspect at the age of 5 and 6, 7 years old, because I was exposed to that. I was thinking strategy that early, and allowing myself to think like that, but also coming home and having conversations every Sunday about business. And my parents did a really good job of exposing us to so many different things. And whether it was taking us down to, O Block, right? Like taking us down to the real hood and seeing like this is how people live, right? They never shelter us from that. Like they obviously we lived in an area that wasn't like that, but they were like, this is what it is. And we had friends and family members and they educated us on this. And it wasn't like we didn't act like it didn't exist. Like
Hmm.
we knew what it was, right? And so
Hmm.
they never were afraid to show us that. They never were afraid to educate us on that. And they weren't afraid to drive us the opposite end too. Like this is how the 1% of the people live either. So how
Hmm.
so they educated us on so many different things. And I think that's important because you see both sides. You see the actual real. And so when you see that, then you have perspective. And a lot
Hmm.
of people don't have perspective. And when
Yeah.
you only see one thing the one way, or you only have friends that are in that bubble, your narrative is different. Like my
Hmm.
friends are all different, and I like that, and I love that, and so that allowed me to start thinking outside the box. What allowed me to start thinking business differently, and allowed me to kind of diversify my thinking, which now diversified my portfolio as a business person.
Oh wow.